Hello guys, welcome to my next video. In this video I'll be explaining Doctrine and Twig. These are one of the most important and useful feature of Symfony2 framework. I have created some initial setup for this project so that we can start the project right away. First of all, I have created a table called countries. Now this contains more than 100 rows. I have also created a Twig file called table.html.twig. This Twig file right now contains some sample test data, and it also contains one pagination div tag at the bottom. You can copy paste this div if required. We'll be later using this Twig to populate the country data. So now we can just test that Twigs, whether it is coming and how does it look in the front end. So this is a Twig that I have created. Now instead of these test rows, we'll be trying to get the country data inside that. This Twig is rendered in the login action which I created in my first video series. So we can show the table Twig when the user is logged in. Now we can start doing this project. First of all, we'll get the total country count from the country table. For that, we'll create a function called getTotalCountries. And now we can start defining that function. So this function will just basically count the total number of countries in the table. This total count will be required for making the pagination work. So first we'll create the entity manager. em is equal to this getDoctrine getEntityManager. Now we'll start writing the count query. For that, we can start using the create query builder of the entity manager. This create query builder is a very useful function for executing SQL command. We can also add where conditions, joins, etc. based on different inputs. So I'll be trying to cover most of them in this project. For this particular function, we will be using the count function. We'll also have to define the table from which we'll be selecting this. I have already created the entities using the generate entity Symfony function. You can always refer my previous video for detailed procedure for setting up these entities. So after forming the SQL function for execution, we have to use the getQuery command to get the final query. Once we have the final query, we can execute it based on the result we are expecting. So in this case, we are executing the query for getting the count, so we can use the get single scalar result and we can return it so that it will be available in the calling function. Now we can test whether we are getting these results, so we can use the print_r command for this. Now I'll just reload the page. I think we haven't made the call to the function properly. We have to add the $this variable too while calling a function, so we'll again try reloading that. Undefined constant. We have to add define a constant also for each table that we are selecting from. So now it's working. There are 239 rows in that column. So now we can start writing the query for getting the actual rows of country. First we'll define a count per page variable which can be used to define the number of countries displayed per page. So we'll define that as 50. I have copy pasted the count query. Now we can modify this to make the actual query which will be used to get the rows of country. Now we'll modify the select statement and make it to just C. This is like select star from a table in actual SQL. So we'll set the set maximum results to the count per page variable so that the first 50 rows will be selected now. So we can get the final query using the getQuery command, and the result we can use the get result, or we can use the get array result so that we can pass this directly to the Twig for display, so it will be much more easier. So now we can just try reloading our page. So these are the first 50 rows of the table. Now we have to pass these variables to the Twig while rendering, that is in the render function, we'll have to assign a name for each variable that we are passing so that we can access it in the Twig while rendering it. We'll first pass the array of countries. We'll name the variable as countries. We can delete the print_r statements now. Now we can pass a total count to and give the variable a name. Now we'll also need the total number of pages for the pagination to work, so we can calculate that by dividing the total count divided by the number of pages, and we can pass that to the render function. So after that we'll be almost complete with the Doctrine part, and in my next video we'll be using the data passed to the Twig for displaying it, and also we'll be setting up the pagination. So thank you guys for watching this video. Have a nice day.